Hey there, Goa fans. Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 27 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series devoted to the best tracks of the 90s, in my opinion, in the Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. Tracks that I have recollections of hearing back then in the 90s, for the most part, or at least so far. And for this episode, I am featuring a track from an album that was already in the series that I first got in the 94-95 season. I'm counting the seasons like scholastic years since my exposure to the scene started in September 94. And the reason is, first of all, this entire album was so great that it was very hard for me to choose one track from it, but also because I clearly have a recollection of hearing this track at the September autumn equinox party that was put on by the Equinox Party organization. This took place in Chichibu, a sort of a district sort of far outside of Tokyo, a couple of hours away by train, and then we were bused into this location. This is the party I actually spoke about at least once before in the very first episode in this whole series. It was an absolutely incredible event where Cooney played the whole night, about 10 hours, not just night, night well into the morning. Really, really epic. And I clearly remember this track being played quite early on in his set. And I remember because I was very familiar with it. I was very happy having heard it on this absolutely fantastic album for several months. And I remember there was a spoken sample in this track. And I was dancing with a friend on the dance floor, and I knew when the sample was coming. And the music stops. There's a spoken words, and I whispered it, whispered the phrase in my friend's ear at the same time it came on the sound system. Gave her a bit of a shock. Apparently took her a little while to recover from that, but there we go. Anyway, so it's a fantastic track. It is called Loads of Flow. It's the molecular mix. Not that I've heard another mix of this track, and it was on Kox Box's brilliant album on Hard House, Forever After. It's the last track. Now, Kox Box is, the three musicians of Frankie Madsen, Peter Candy, and Ian Ion. That this track was also produced with this project whose name I could never pronounce properly. Swithe. It's like letter C, the word with, and E at the end of it. They had an album that came out on Blue Room a few years later. And I know Jens, great musician, was one half of that project. And Kox Box did a number of tracks with Jens. So I'm not sure if both Jens and Anders, who were part of this unpronounceable project name, were involved in this particular track, or if it was just Jens. But regardless, phenomenal track. Lots to admire, as there always is with these Kox Box productions. It's just really a real favorite of mine for several reasons, and so I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So I remember, as I said, Cooney played this quite early on at that party. The party started quite late, just to give you a little background to that particular event. It started later than expected. And Cooney started off with some ambient, and it turned into more and more ambient. And it turned out that it was the entire Mystical Experiences DAT. So, it was a CD that he played the whole thing as opening. And people were getting a little bit antsy for the dance music to start because it was getting quite late. It's, I think, after midnight at this point. And I remember somebody yelling, "Oi, I've got some Tuna Reactor in the car if you need some dance music." And eventually the dance music started. And among the first tracks I remember there was Quadcep by Voodoo People, which I featured, and this track. And in fact, those two tracks mix together beautifully, and I've done that a couple of times. And because of that sample and because of that whole situation, with me whispering it to my friend and so on. I just remember very clearly in the forest under the stars and hearing this incredible music, and the party finally taking off and this being one of the first ones. It's forever linked with that particular event for me. So how about we give this track a listen? Beautiful Loads of Flow by Kox Box, the molecular mix. Again, I haven't heard another mix, but that's what it's called. Loads of Flow by Kox Box. Here we go. So it starts off pretty much like, a lot of techno and so on, right? Just with the kick, no intro, as would normally be the case in a lot of Goa. Notice the bass line. These kind of baby sounds. That reminds me actually of some CBD or whatever I'm going to call the music. Listen to the modulations going on in this bass line. And then beautiful pattern. Okay? So pitched, but no tone with it, right? So just rhythmic and tonal and pitched, but it really adds texture and dimension. And then this other line here. Again, like a call and answer. And it's almost like this, again, an alien voice just saying one note. Except for that slide. And then this rhythmic element coming in here. There's a lot going on here already. Very clear, very transparent. And that one note point start. There was often a lot of German music where you'd often get a chorus or a voice just saying one note like that. It's just kind of like a simple statement of fact. So it steps back and then it comes back. Just amazing, super hypnotic. And has some new information here. Again, a bit of a call and answer going on here. That evolves there. And now, I mean, this is just going in all directions, right? It's going up and down, front to back, and it's just really spinning around. And stuff that's rhythmic, that's tonal, that's pitched. And then this beautiful spoken sample.
Welcome to my world.
And the structure of these tracks is so brilliant, just not boxy at all, but very clear progressions in 8-bar sections. Just upper frequencies. Stuff that's back going up and down. I love that voice. And it's kind of sheet metal. Those zaps. So much happening. We don't have nearly enough sci-fi sounds like that going on nowadays. This is really outer space music. So that soft voice that's in there. And there's going to be a counterpoint to that coming in on the next round of 8. There we go. This is amazing power. Now, that's going to vary somewhat here. And it goes back to the original. Then zaps. And then just on this last one here, drum build up, and this is like the climax, just this whole alien coded message going on. Listen how many layers are happening simultaneously. Incredible. Whooshes and rhythmic stuff, Morse code, beautiful harmonies, some hypnotic repetition. Love that pitch slide. Incredibly engineered to be able to hear this all happening at the same time. You never know what's coming. Again, this track a little bit more like, more techno stuff. The kit keeps going to the end also. Kind of rarer for Goa, quote unquote, stuff. Whew. Absolute magic. I mean, really every track on this is magic. But what another world. Welcome to my world. What a great sample, eh? It certainly was when I whispered it into my friends here at that party. Yeah, really, I mean, it captures the atmosphere of really these tracks. I mean, great track to play at the, early on in a party, if you think about that, setting the energy of, welcoming people into this particular world, whichever world or worlds that might be. Just magical music from Kox Box and Friends. An all-time classic. This is one of the, there's several tracks on here that I've played out, but this is one of the ones I regularly go back to, and much easier to mix when it's not on DAT. I've featured it in a couple of flows recently. I'll include one in the comments, in the description on YouTube. But absolute masterpiece. Again, the entire album really needs to be heard over and over again. And what a great track to close that album. So I will sign off here and leave the whole track without commentary so that you can enjoy it more fully and appreciate all this incredible layering and the musical content of this fantastic track, the molecular mix of Loads of Flow by Kox Box.
Welcome to my world.